For this project, I have chosen to read The World Without Us by Alan Wiseman. This book takes you around the world to everything that humans have created, old, new, big, and small, and how the world would reclaim them if we disappeared. The book starts off by describing how our houses would begin to deteriorate if humans suddenly disappeared. Without our maintenance, water, gravity, and wildlife would create mold and weigh down supports, especially with our cost-friendly materials, which don't hold up, as well as structures made of concrete. Our homes would last around 50 to 100 years. The next chapter describes part by part how the earth would reclaim the concrete jungle itself, New York City. My personal favorite chapter, Wiseman explains how the groundwater flowing below the city, normally maintained by a system of pipes and human regulation, would completely destroy the subway canals, creating unstable ground for the buildings to stay on. He also adds how new plants and animals would find homes in the rubble. He finishes this first part by taking a look at the world just before humans and also how humans have affected Africa, where many large amounts of animals roam. The second part of this book introduces a system of underground cities and tunnels in Cappadocia, Turkey. If humans were to disappear, Wiseman believes that this would be one of the few places that would remain intact and hold humanity's memory. The star of this part, however, is the chapter called Polymers Are Forever. This chapter brings awareness to just how permanent plastic really is. As this book was written in 2007, the amount of plastic in our oceans and landfills has since grown exponentially. And still, Wiseman describes this issue very seriously. Since plastics haven't been around very long, there is no way for scientists to tell how long it takes to biodegrade, thus making plastic one of the few things that could truly last forever on Earth. After also discussing rubbers and machines with petroleum gas, Wiseman takes into account how farms have developed and all the organisms that would suffer without the regulation of humans. He then speaks about all of our biggest artifacts, like the Great Wall of China, and how the Earth's flora and fauna would reclaim them. Then, it continues on to how much damage we have done during war, and then how all nuclear power plants would explode without human supervision. The last few chapters wrap up how different kinds of animals would suffer, such as birds that will continue to fly into power lines, and animals that will thrive, like aquatic animals. It seems that without humans, for the most part, the Earth will do its best to rid itself of our memory. This book addresses the four main parts of AP biology. First, the process of evolution drives the diversity and unity of life. Towards the beginning of the book, PhD candidate Kate Detweiler explains how the hybridization of animals helps them to evolve new niches so that they can thrive in new environments. This is very beneficial for creating diversity and unity. It creates new breeds of species and new niches so animals can coexist more efficiently. Second, biological systems utilize free energy and molecular building blocks to grow, reproduce, and maintain dynamic homeostasis. Wiseman mentions a breed of birds called prairie chickens. These birds require outside help from humans to lightly burn back growing plants so that they can have ideal breeding grounds. In order to successfully get the energy and food they need while also reproducing, some species require temporal intervention, as shown by the prairie chickens. The third big idea says that living systems store, retrieve, transmit, and respond to information essential to life processes. Towards the end of the book, there's a chapter about birds. Physiologist Robert Beeson explains how birds have adapted to follow light during poor weather, which would mean the moon. This information was most likely passed down through generations of birds taking in information around them, ultimately changing their DNA. However, since electricity has been introduced, birds can no longer follow light without being put in danger. This information will eventually lead to birds being able to distinguish different sources of light. Lastly, biological systems interact, and these systems and their interactions possess complex properties. Wiseman mentions that while AIDS has affected humans for years, a very similar virus is carried in chimps and doesn't affect them at all, even though our genes have only a 4% difference. This shows how systems in our body, such as DNA and the immune system, work so closely and are so complex. This book ultimately teaches the readers a lot about how the world works and how much impact we have on the world around us. So make sure you're making choices that would make the earth glad that you are living on it. Thank you so much for listening.